Amber here, co-founder at Cambio, and I'm here to explain why we have crows on our logo, or at least partially, because we do have crows. People are like, why don't you have a lotus or an Om symbol or what, or someone meditating, which are all wonderful logos, but we went with crows partially because I do love crows and I have three really good crow stories. So I'm going to tell you one today if you're in the mood to listen to a little story. Then I've got one for you. It's pretty amazing. I think these crows very possibly saved my life. So I used to teach school at Manitou Elementary, which is in Manitou Springs, a small town just outside of Colorado Springs and just on the way up to the mountains. I woke up one morning and I could not believe school was not canceled. We got one of these snows we get sometimes in Colorado with this, like, just those fat, heavy, wet flakes that come down and they accumulate quickly. And before you know, you've got 8 inches, 10 inches, like you blink and it's just accumulating. And but we had school. It wasn't canceled. So I drive all the way to Manitou, which was quite a drive for me at the time. I get there, I go up to my classroom, and my two co-teachers come in and they say, hey, go home. School got canceled. So apparently one of our school buses was coming down the pass because the district kept the buses in the mountains, and it jackknifed. And so they didn't want to risk trying to bring the buses down. So school got canceled rather late in the morning, and I'm like, cool, I've got my gear. I'm going to go for a hike at Red Rock Open Space. And I just make this offhanded comment, which is not like something I would normally say. I'm a believer in be careful what you say and wish for. And I said to my coworkers, well, if you don't see me again, a mountain lion got me. Careful what you say, right? So I get there, I go on this amazing hike. It was so quiet and just so much snow. It was like a winter wonderland. And I go way back miles. I go a couple miles out. So a good little hike. And I come back. I don't think about mountain lions again until I'm about probably half a mile to a quarter mile from the parking lot. And I'm walking through this area where there's a path and like a ravine. It's almost in a ravine. And suddenly I think, what would I do if I did see a mountain lion? And the thought just came to me from nowhere. And I was like, okay, well, you make yourself look big. So you open up your jacket and you try to make loud noises to scare it off. So I even like set my ringer to this weird, loud, obnoxious tone and like just was like preparing myself to see a mountain lion, even though it's 10 a.m. You're not supposed to see them at 10 a.m. I'm close to the parking lot. You're not supposed to see them there. I was supposed to see them back in the woods where I just was. And, but I just got a feeling, and sure enough, I walk out of the ravine into this open plain, and it's 10 a.m., close to the parking lot. And another rule this breaks is that I saw it before it saw me. So I see this animal running across the plain, this open area, and I know right away it clicks. This is a mountain lion. It moves like a cat. It's got a very distinct tail. It's a mountain lion, and I just freeze. And then, of course, it sees me, and it freezes. And then it does this, like, hunched up kind of cat stocky thing that they do. I'm like, oh, crap. So I open up my coat, try to make myself look big, and I back up one of the ravine walls because I'm like, well, at least if it comes at me, it has to go uphill. I felt like that gave me an advantage, and it starts slinking. So it kind of like slink runs over to this bush and gets behind it, and then I'd see it come out and into another bush, and there's lots of glare from the snow, tons of glare, but I could see it, and I'd see it going between bushes and getting closer and closer to me. And I've got my phone going, making some weird ringtone, and I'm trying to be loud, and I'm just, other than that though, I'm just frozen, and I'm watching this cat, and I can't tell. I'm like, is it scared and trying to slink off? But then I'm like, no, I don't know. It's definitely getting closer to me. Is it stalking me? And what's going on? What do I do? So I'm just doing the things you're supposed to do. And it's getting closer and closer, and it would just kind of go between these like bushes. And and I'm watching it and I'm just like, okay, I'm kind of trying to formulate a plan of what I'm going to do when it comes up and gets me. And then I hear all of these crows coming, this squawking, like this ruckus, and they come down, and I can actually feel they're so close to my head. I can feel them like going over me, and there's probably 7 or 8 crows, and they go and they start dive bombing this mountain lion. And I don't know if it was in like their nest or something, they somehow felt threatened by it, but they dive bomb it and it would run between the bushes, but now it's going away. And I could tell where it was from them dive bombing it. So they completely drove this mountain lion off. And of course, once it had gone up and over and into the next like valley area, I booked it and I ran into the next valley behind me, and I'm running home or to the car, right? And I'm running, and I see 2 guys. They're the first people I see on the hike. And I'm like, there's a mountain lion. And they just look at me like I have lost my mind. And they're like, okay. And that was it. That's all they said. And they kept walking. And I just run to my car and get in and lock the door. And that's the mountain lion story with the crows that, for whatever reason, chased this mountain lion off and saved the day for me. So that is one of the stories and one of the reasons we have crows on the logo.